Hello, future self, and welcome to M Does Writing Prompts, but in a VR headset. 10 values. Vine Evelyn and I have been doing these writing prompts from mapping the intelligence of artistic work, and I'm really excited about them, and they're really fun. We've been doing like one every day, or one part of each one every day, and so this was one I did over a few days. I just sort of smooshed all the footage into today. So let's do this. So number one, these are out of order. Number one, first of my 10 values is handmade and bodyful. These aren't exactly synonyms, but sort of in my brain they seem very related to each other. They're you gotta get all your body bits in and your body knowledge is out, and really like getting your hands into things, making things by hand in VR, making things by hand on paper and with paper, and sewing, and all of those things feel like super important and valuable in my work. Number two value, again, not in any particular order, but is fashion, display, body augmentation, and avatars. This comes up a lot in my work. It crosses from masking machine and these sort of like physical wearable computers to fashion and making avatars in VR. And it just sort of has this big, broad feeling. I really loved making this. Placing each one of these spikes individually felt very similar to the process of making the paper sculptures, the street art piece. I'm like placing each tiny piece of paper individually, so that was really fun. Next up, number 5. This is a part where I started playing with. This is the first time I had really used Maquette. That's the VR software I'm using is Maquette. It's a Microsoft tool. It's the first time I've really gotten like deep into this particular software. So I was playing with all the different aspects of it in this little project. So 5 is iterative, exploratory, and process focused. And it's just like pictures and taking pictures of pictures and taking pictures of pictures of pictures. I've done that a lot in the HoloLens, layering them on top of each other. So just sort of bringing in my other processes and that kind of stuff, and just experimenting with everything I got here in Maquette. This is the part of the process where I realized that I needed a checklist. I had written these values on a sheet of paper in the notebooks, in no order. I just put 1 through 10 and then filled them in randomly. But in order to get them all into VR, I thought I should use a checklist, so that's what I'm making here. Number 10 value in my work, and value as an artist, I'm calling bed, home, cocoon place. And this has a lot to do with like being disabled, right? Like I am in bed a lot. I really, I've made bed art. I've made not just like quilts that I sleep with, but also these sculptural pillows that I have in my bed and other people have in their beds, and being able to have these art experiences in bed. There's sculptures hanging over my bed, so my bed cocoon place, a very important value in my work. And this is the part where I started messing around with the environment and the placement of the objects in relationship to each other. I play with this a bit more later, but I pull out the lights and lots of different fun things that I'm doing here that aren't exactly a value, but sort of making this a more cohesive whole. Number 8, this tiny little one over on the corner, really playing with scale, boundaries, edges, skins, and ecotones. Ecotones is one of my favorite words. It's about the boundary between two major ecosystems. So the edges of forests, or maybe beaches, edges between sort of like oceans and coastlines. Really that transition zone between two ecosystems. I wasn't really sure here like which value I was working on or what I wanted to do next. I was playing around with bringing some of my own models in. And in that process of sort of fussing and discovering and stuff, playing around, I found this two-lobed sort of scan of a skateboard ramp, and it's covered in graffiti, and I thought it was really great. So especially since I'm now really interested in doing street art, I wanted to use it for one of my values. But in the meantime, I worked on number 9. Recycling, found materials, and non-toxic. I also put the dollar bill in there because I like when stuff is cheap. I like to use materials that would otherwise be thrown away, or I'm getting from like SF Scrap where they had a previous life and this is their second or third life. I really like incorporating found materials into the work. Found fabrics, found papers, other things like that. Alright, back up to our half pipe skateboarding graffiti model. This one was fun, so I placed it up on the shelf, and then I figured out you could like stick your face inside of it and zoom up way so that it was much bigger, and you could really be inside of it. And I got to hang out in there for a while, and I placed all these pictures in there. And so number 6 is pattern, color, and texture. And a lot of the pictures I placed were of the new sculpture that I made, the street art piece, but also some of my other sculptures and makeup, and just, some of these things that I'm just really drawn to. So I accidentally managed to get no footage of me making the last 3. I think the recording got corrupted, unfortunately. I also had this bug where one of my models, a scan in my studio, just like kept disappearing over and over again. I would put it in and it would disappear, I put it in, it would disappear, I put it in. Anyways. So I just did a bit of cleanup here, rearranging the teleportation nodes and the lighting and the model so that everything fit together better without that disappearing model. And then we get to number 3, disability, liminality, queerness, and non-binary. This in-betweenness, similar to the ecotones I mentioned with value number 8, is like really close to my heart. Not identity necessarily, but the physical existence and the sort of the reality that underlies conceptual clarity of like a category is a very specific thing, or a species is very specific. I'm really interested in when that is true in the taxonomy, but really untrue in the material world. Oh yeah, number 4. This is my giant pile of all the different tools I use in my work. Doesn't actually even cover all of them. But so number 4, my value is tool creation, process, collage, and future of work speculative design. Changing the way we think about what is work and how do we work and what tools do we use to work and how do we recombine different tools from different kinds of processes. Oh, love it so much. All right, and our last one, number 7, biophysic, systemic, and echo mimicry. And I really like this one because I had my 3 different scales of world. So Earth, planet scale, bacteria, tiny little scale, and then tree, sort of this medium scale. And then also 3 different kinds of lenses. So a telescope, a microscope, and a magnifying glass. I'm so obsessed with scale and lenses and all that stuff. So I like the way this one came together. So yeah, that was my 10 values as an artist, and what are the things that are most important to my artistic existence. I'm sure that if I do this prompt again in a year, some of these will change, but it was really nice, one, to take a writing prompt into VR and really see like how I could use it and change it and how it could drive me and everything. And then also just to like sort of challenge myself with this new software that I'm using, and challenge myself to really clarify what my values are in my art practice, and like what are the things that I'm exploring and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, bye future self.